Glad you're here. So yesterday, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, speaking at the inauguration of Ghana's President John Mahama in Accra, Ghana, called for Africa unity. As ECOWAS chairman, Tinubu emphasized resilience, solidarity, and Africa's determination to resist external disruptions, stressing that regional prosperity lies in collaboration. To unpack the significance of this message and its implication for Africa's future, I'm joined by international affairs analyst Paul Ejime. We also have Professor Michael Abiodun Oni. He's a professor of political science at Babcock University. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving us your time.
Thank you for having us, Felicity. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Mr. Ejime, let me start with you. Ghana's transition from one democratic government to another. The president says it's not just for Ghanaians, but a celebration of African democracy. Ghana is just one country, so could you maybe explain to us the basis for our president's assertion?
So, you know that success has so many parents, so many relations. It's only failure that is an orphan. So everybody, I think they would like to pitch and be part of the success that Ghana has exhibited in terms of democratic maturity. This is the 9th cycle of elections they have held since 1992. And then I think it's the 3rd or the 4th time that power has changed from one party to the other. And so they can, they have that, they have that bragging right to say that democracy is working. It's now 32 or 33 years. And that is what I guess the president, the ECOWAS chairman, President Tinubu of Nigeria was referencing. But this is against the background of what is happening in the region. Where ECOWAS of 15 members, 3 have given notice that they want to leave, 4 are under military rule. Actually, as if they are going back to where they started. When ECOWAS started, democracy was not as solid or the trend as it is now, but it looks like there is regression. And I think it's not just enough to talk up the fact that this is what is desirable, but also to walk the talk. Let African countries, let ECOWAS countries, let Nigeria and every country in Africa do the needful to follow the rule. If they sign up to the fact that they want to be a democracy, let them follow the rule from the Constitution to electoral laws to human rights, to respect of human rights, and then to provision of those benefits of democracy, good infrastructure, food on the table, education, healthcare, and so on, respect for human rights, and so on and so forth. So that is it is easier, you know, said than done, like they used to say. So it's a good sign for Ghana, and then perhaps an inspiration to the region and to Africa as a whole.
All right, Prof, let me come to you and I'm going to quote a bit of what President Tinubu said. He talked about Ghana laying to bed questions of whether Ghana and Africa are capable of democratic and productive endeavors. He also said that Ghana has answered the question resoundingly, and message to critics to stop forgetting the strides that the continent, his countries and the continent are making. And then he went on to say, we have nothing to prove ourselves. We don't need to prove ourselves to anybody. But some analysts, I've seen comments arguing that that sounded like whining. Are we still trying to prove a point? If yes, is there a danger to this kind of rhetoric or mindset?
Is that question to me?
Yes, Prof. The question is for you, sir.
Okay, if you listen to him very well yesterday, he is telling the international community that they should steer clear, that we are one, that ECOWAS is one and solid, and that there shouldn't be any external interference in our affairs. So, to him, being the ECOWAS leader, is sounding a note of warning to external forces to stay away from from Africa in the first instance, and West Africa in particular, that they should stay away. That we are people who can lead other nations, who can lead ourselves. I mean, he is talking about what is happening in the French colonized countries in Africa, whereby there are still vestiges of colonialism that they are trying to resolve. He is telling the French people that they should stop fighting the ECOWAS. And I think his speech yesterday was in order. That Ghana is coming back, is having democracy uninterrupted for 33 years now, is to tell the outside world that I think Africa has arrived. If you look at Nigeria too, since 1999, they have been uninterrupted civilian regime. Is to tell the outside world that we can do it. We don't need further military interruption in Africa and West Africa, that we should be allowed to manage our own affairs effectively. And that is what I see in him. I see him, Tinubu, yesterday, the voice of patriotism. I see him yesterday, the voice of unity. I see him yesterday as a leader who is up to the task to lead resoundingly, to assure people that nothing can threaten African unity, that we are together.
All right.
Together we will solve our problem.
Okay, I'll just take one more direct question from his speech before we broaden out the conversation. The president said the continent has found the critical path to success, and that they shall lift the nation out of the nations out of poverty and build a resilient economy at our own pace. And that's what I want to ask you, Mr. Ejime. How is that pace for you? Is it a pace that is commendable or a bit too slow for the needs of the continent?
For me, they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So one would expect that instead of this sloganeering or what is said, let people see that that is what's to be seen, that this is what is happening. Africa, most of African countries have more than 60 years of independence. But you will, like Professor Oni is saying, some of them cannot really be said to be independent. They are still, struggling. And so it is really not for me, I would rather say, point the finger, because when you're pointing a finger at somebody, I think three or so are pointing at yourself. Calling on Africa, external forces not to interfere is one thing, but also you inviting them and later complaining is one thing. For instance, I know that French-Africa Summit is going to hold very soon, in whether in South Africa or wherever it is going to take place. And African leaders will go en masse to go and meet a leader from these foreign countries that we are complaining about. The same thing with Russia, African Russia, with China, African China, and so on and so forth. So who is actually the enemy of Africa? I would say that to begin with, you say remove the log in your own eye before you start talking about the spectre in your brother's eye. I would say that it is more in doing rather than in talking. Let President Tinubu demonstrate to Nigerians that this is he means business, and that will actually spread to the rest of West Africa and then to Africa at large. Because it's not going to be by talking, it's going to be by doing. I keep repeating that. So it is the incumbent on the leaders to demonstrate, to show that Africa is independent rather than saying, mounting it, because otherwise it will amount to sloganeering, like I said. It is there, you can see the inequalities, you can see poverty, you can see hunger, you can see deprivation, you can see violation of human rights. They are visible, we can't deny it. So, and it's not because of foreigners, it is because we in Africa, we need to manage ourselves, we need to govern, we need to bring good governance. We don't need somebody to come and tell Africans how to do that. But let us do it ourselves, because our own citizens are complaining. If you follow what I mean, Felicity. So look at the picture you have there. Usually it's African countries gathered somewhere, and then one foreign leader going to see, which to me is embarrassing. Why can't you discuss African problem in Africa instead of trying to outsource it or go somewhere and discuss the problem that you have in your backyard? So these are the issues that Africans should be looking at, and not actually talking about it, but let them be doing it.
All right. Professor Oni, speaking more broadly now, how can African leaders balance interests with the need for continental unity, especially in the face of external disruptions? Because this was something that President Tinubu hinted at.
Tinubu has started yesterday. I think other leaders in Africa have to speak out. They have to intimidate the external marauders who try or who will be trying to defeat them. They need more bold steps, bold actions, and bold steps to let the outside world know that, yes, we have arrived and we want to stand and act together as a continent. Otherwise, they will be tossing us around. You see, because of the critical concept in international relations, that is national interest. Most nations have much interest in Africa, and consequently, they want to keep us perpetually divided so that they can come here and get what they want to get in disunity. And that is why we need to close ranks. If you look at the attendance at yesterday's inauguration, was poor. I think some other leaders will have come around to solidarize with Mahama inauguration. Though there could have been some people who are friends of Akufo and his party, and therefore some would consider their coming as a betrayal of their former man, the former head of state, and his party. But we need to put away selfish interest and put up a coloration of national interest. Otherwise, we will continue to lose out. But if we engage in concerted efforts and concerted actions, the outside world will respect us for it, and they might want to think twice if they want to attack us or penetrate us. But if we make ourselves available to external forces cheaply because we want to get some things done, we will continue to be at a great loss. So I will call on African leaders to unite. Unity is very critical. Unity is very central to be able to face our challenge together. Otherwise, if we remain disunited, we will pay dearly for it. That's my position.
Mr. Ejime, the president talked a lot about regional cooperation and that this will help with issues like poverty and youth unemployment. But each country is already struggling to meet these basic needs, to address poverty and provide employment for the young people. Do you think a regional collaboration will expedite this effort?
Exactly. And that is the trend worldwide. And that is why you have economic or political blocs. Like you have the EU, you have the American, State Association, you have Asia Association. Then in Africa, we have 8 regional economic communities. ECOWAS is just one of them. And I must say that it is because ECOWAS had been succeeding. It has achieved some measure of success. That is why it is being held to live up to its own standard. Because what they say is more work, success means more work, or, good work means more work, as they say. It is being held on its own, by its own standard. That there was a time when ECOWAS, from the time it was formed to more than 10 years after, was involved in trying to, fight fires, resolve conflicts or prevent them, like in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and even in Mali and some of these countries that are having issues today. The 4 coups that have happened from 2020 are not the first. And ECOWAS have tried to manage them, to put, try to make sure that after those interruptions, the countries involved came back to, constitutional order. But what has happened now is that over the years, maybe some 10 years, they have dropped, they kept their eyes off the ball. They have dropped the ball. And that is why today it appears that democracy is on the back burner, why military intervention it becomes 4 countries out of 15. And who knows which other country? One is not praying for it. So it is that leadership. I think I put everything on leadership. And it has to start from the national level to regional, continental, and then global level. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You have to start from home. They say charity begins from home. So if, for instance, President Tinubu is able to show the world that he can, he's up to the task like he promised that he will do to put Nigeria, bring a renewed hope to Nigeria. And then others outside, within the region. Because without Nigeria, there is nothing like ECOWAS. If you people who know the history of ECOWAS, we know that it's more or less a Nigerian baby. And so if now ECOWAS can only work if Nigeria is working. And so Nigeria has to step up to now make sure that it gets its own act in order, together, to be able to now talk to the other neighbors, all these like the 4 countries that are having issues that are under military rule, to tell them, listen, ECOWAS had been here before. There was a time when you had governments that are in the bush, one in the bush, another one in the city. We cannot go back to that period. Now we have to be moving forward. We agree that there have been some dynamics, geographic, geopolitical shifts, strategic shifts. There is terrorism and other threats that are now multilateralism is no longer the issue. It's about bilateral, or you now will call new nationalism. And like what Prof. Oni has said, it's a national interest. That is what drives international relations. But no country can do it alone, no matter how powerful or how rich.
It is. So I agree with you on that, Mr. Ejime. I agree totally with you on that. But we're time pressed. We have just about 3 minutes left for this segment to wrap up. So I'm going to ask this very important question. Coming off your submission on leadership, Professor Oni, does the leadership being provided by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for Nigeria give you an indication of what to expect from his time as ECOWAS president, or ECOWAS chairman? I think that's the correct frame.
Chairman, yeah. I think it's like his regime. It's like when you have about 3 children and you ask one to step down for other, how you stop eating meat at all. You can't eat meat now. Meat is very expensive. We have to pay your school fees. We have to buy a uniform. We have to do this. So let us sacrifice. What Tinubu is doing presently in Nigeria, which is bringing into ECOWAS, is sacrifice nature government. Yes, people are shouting. Things are tough at all. But for me personally, and for others who can see beyond today, I think before it's 4 years, Nigerians will laugh. I was at fuel station last week. We have seen where they are selling fuel for 930, 940, 950. It is in the street cases that they are selling it 1,000, or this in the street cases. So I think it's leadership. He has shown leadership, resilient leader, determined leader, focused leader at home and at the regional level. And I think this will see us through. This will see the ECOWAS through. This will make the ECOWAS to be more united, to be more focused, and to be determined to succeed.
Professor Oni, thank you very much for your submission on the conversation. We appreciate your time. Mr. Ejime, we're still holding on to you for a bit. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. John Mahama's return as Ghana's president is a significant event in the nation's political history. With a decisive victory in the 2024 elections, he becomes the first non-consecutive leader in Ghana's Fourth Republic, sparking discussions about implications for the country and the continent. What does Mahama's leadership mean for Ghana's development? Can his comeback strengthen regional ties and drive Africa's collective progress? Well, that's what we're about to explore with my guests. We still have Mr. Paul Ejime standing by, international affairs analyst, and then we're joined for this conversation by Mr. Romeo Aponsa Aduache. Thank you for giving us your time, Romeo.
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again.
All right, I think we'll just start with you because you are on the ground. You join us from Ghana. What specific factors do you believe were key to Mahama's decisive victory? And was it more about his policies or dissatisfaction with the previous administration?
Thank you very much, and let me welcome you to Ghana. I believe that in 2016, President Mahama Nanado, the message was very clear. There were a lot of corruption in the system. There was economic hardship in the system, youth unemployment in the system. So the Ghanaian people thought it wise to choose a new leader, and they handed power to Nana Dankwa, who just left office on Monday. So we would say that Mahama's coming back is a dissatisfaction of the Ghanaian people towards the New Patriotic Party and how they ruled Ghana. If you look at the same things they used to campaign against the then leader, John Mahama, when the NPP came into office, Ghanaians said, yeah, seen either the same or worse things as compared to the year 2016, when they lost power to the New Patriotic Party. Coming into the 2024 elections, there was still high cost of goods and services, which is inflation. There was still youth unemployment. There were issues of corruption. And the major issue had to do with the economy. The Ghanaian people were crying about how the economy was being run and how things are very hard in the system. So if you ask me, I would say President John Mahama won the elections because Ghanaians were not satisfied with the rule of the Nana Dankwa and Dr. Bawumia administration. So they voted for a change. And the turnout is something that tells the whole world that they had a strong belief in the former president, that he has seen it before, he has done it before, and given a second chance, Ghana will go into a new direction. Because according to Afrobarometer, majority of Ghanaians said that the country was heading into a wrong direction under the New Patriotic Party administration. So President Mahama won convincingly because Ghanaians believed in him. They believed in the policy that he mentioned when he was campaigning during the 2024 election. So a lot of factors came together to give this resounding victory to President John Mahama.
Mr. Ejime, you are an observer of what plays out on this continent. I don't know if we've had, we have it on a regular to see a president who was ousted in an election, brought back by the same people who rejected him at some point. Some say this is maturity for Africa's democracy and Ghana specifically. But what are the implications here, and how does this comeback per se influence the political landscape on the continent?
So,
okay, so the question is for Mr. Ejime. Romeo.
Hello?
The question is for Mr. Ejime. We have another guest with us.
Okay,
So, yeah, the
you.
question is for him. I'll come back to you in a bit.
Okay.
Okay, Romeo, it is, so give me this opportunity to answer. I was there during the election, and then I saw what played out. It wasn't entirely, what is it called, friction-free or violence-free, because there were still one or two deaths that happened. But largely, like I said in my introduction, Ghanaians showed their maturity in democracy, and were able to do what they have done. The question, the point now is that to move from this level to where they like Romeo said, it was a referendum on Akufo-Addo's government, 8 years. And then, like he also said, they have seen Ghana, Ghana under Mahama, and compared that with what happened over the 8 years, and decided they will now give Mahama another chance. So you asked whether there has been something like that before this comeback, and I mentioned the Matthew Kereku of Benin. But what it shows is that the people have the power. They're only giving it in trust to the politicians. And they're saying, with all democracy, with all its criticisms, is the only system of government that affords you or gives voters the opportunity to hold periodic elections when they can replace any leader when they are not performing, like they have just done in Ghana. Okay? So, but if it were a dictatorship or autocracy or whatever system, it might be difficult because you find brutality and all kinds of suppression. So here, if democracy can be practiced the way it is understood, I think
We are hoping it's not going to be in perpetuity. We'll continue learning and learning, and it doesn't seem like a lot is happening. Because while you were talking, all I was thinking about was it is the dream for people to actually choose their leaders in Africa. And like you're saying, Ghana is making attempts to show us how it should be done. I'll come back to you in a bit, but let me go back to Romeo and just ask that, or let me rephrase it this way. Mahama has a lot to prove. So from your vantage point, what are the pressing issues he is most likely to prioritize in his second term?
I would say very true, he has a lot to prove to the Ghanaian people. The first thing on the table will be the economy. President Mahama needs to stabilize the economy because there is economic hardship in the Ghanaian country. A lot of people are complaining about high cost of inflation. So the first thing President Mahama should tackle should be on the economy. Then again, the issue of employment, the issue of youth employment. Majority of the Ghanaian youth are done with school, but they find no work anywhere in the public sector or the private sector. So I think the issue of the economy, the issue of employment, and then issue of corruption. A lot of Ghanaians believe that politics is an avenue to enrich yourself. So within 4 years, 6 and 8 years, people that you know in your neighborhood who join politics within this time frame will be very worthy, and then when you ask yourself, what happened? Sometimes if you have to sum up their salary and then you multiply by the number of years that they've worked, it doesn't tally. So people believe that there has been a lot of loot and share in the Nanado economy. So Ghanaians will be looking at one, how he's going to turn the hand of the economy, stabilize the economy, how to create jobs for the youth, and then again, the issue of corruption. Before I even end on that, the issue of Galamsey is also high on the table of Ghanaians, because when you go to the Galamsey site, they struggle with their water bodies. Getting purified potable water to drink is also a problem for the Ghanaian people. So the first on the list for President Mahama will be to quickly stabilize the economy and bring the economy back to its feet, then try as much as possible to create employment for the people of Ghana, look at the issue of corruption, and then finally, look at the issue of Galamsey.
All right, Mr. Ejime, for someone looking on at what's going on, how do you anticipate the new president's approach to governance will differ this time around from his first term as president? Has anything changed politically and economically that might have significant impact here?
Yes, but let me explain. Romeo talks about Galamsey. He thinks that everybody understands that it's illegal small-scale mining, and everybody is involved in it, all the politicians, and nobody wants to take responsibility. And it is, actually damaging the underwater system, and then plus the corruption that comes from that. So I hope I have helped you, Romeo, to explain what Galamsey means. So now you mentioned, let us give it to Mahama. I've worked with him closely when he led ECOWAS observation mission several times. And then this is a communication specialist. You won't believe that he has come out with what he now calls his contract with Ghanaians. He's talking about resetting the system. He gave, and in this speech, if you listen to that speech or watch him speak, it was so conciliatory. He even gave, some commendation to his opponent and then even the president that is replacing. But underline the fact that Ghana is under a very difficult situation, and so he has come to reset that. Already, he talked about downsizing the government, because that's another thing. The expensive nature of what governments are doing. Nana Akufo-Addo had more than 100 ministers, but he said he's going to cut it down to about 60. Because the cost of governance is too much, and that is why people are saying, why do you waste all the, if you look into what is used to govern, if you cut them down, this idea of we don't have money, you will have some money to do whatever you want to do. But some governments are not ready to do that. Instead, they come with bloated cabinets, and then they have all manner of people around the government corridor that are contributing little or nothing. When that money could have been used to do something else. So he has come with that. He talked about downsizing. He talked about the tax that is going to, remove all taxes that are actually impoverishing the people. He has talked about employment and a lot of things. He has it written so that if he does not perform, you can either tick the box or say, well, even though he has only 4 years to stay, maximum, because of he has done one term before, though he has only 1 term to do. But he is coming with somebody who is prepared. He started, after inauguration yesterday, today he was in the office. He started work. That is how it should be. Unlike when you have to have government inaugurated and they're taking forever to go and name their ministers or go to work. You should hit the road running. These are some of the things that are new that I'm telling you. And he has brought the experience of his previous, he did 4 years elected and then completed the term of the president that died at Tamis. He was vice president and completed his term and won his own term. He's been there. So whatever he says, I think Ghanaians are most likely going to believe what he says. So it's up to him now, his job is cut out, to deliver on all those. And if he fails, it is not because of want of trying. I know, like I said, that he has shown that he has a listening ear. And the other thing that people may miss from yesterday's inauguration was the fact that one of the military rulers of the Alliance of Sahel, Captain Ibrahim Traore was there. And so there could be some silver lining. Instead of having this united or disintegrated ECOWAS, if he uses his power and combine that with Nigeria, I can tell you that normally regional organization or every organization needs a power, a pillar that will move it. In going to Liberia, I was there as a journalist embedded in the ECOMOG. It was Nigeria and Ghana that brought out the troops. And the Ghanaian was the first commander of that. And who were there? Rawlings and, you may say Abacha or whoever was there, Babangida. But they were able to come together. That was why they brought the whole region to under focus, to move. All
right, Mr. Ejime, if I get you right, you're looking at him playing more role with regional integration beyond the politics in Ghana.
Exactly.
All right.
So I think that is that should be a plus. That is what should energize President Tinubu to work with him and then be able to get all the others online.
The same board. All right.
But with somebody like Mahama, I think the twosome or the pair can steady these boats of ECOWAS that is almost sinking.
All right. Romeo, I want to come back to you on your talk about employment for the youths. Everybody talks about employment for the youth, but beyond employment, what are the specific things that the youths are looking out for in Mahama's administration, and do you think he will live up to their expectations?
I think a lot of the youth will be looking out for employment, sustainable employment. Former President Nanado's administration brought out some jobs for them. For example, the Nation Builders Corps, which is the NAPCO. It wasn't permanent job. So the youth here in Ghana are looking for permanent job, either in the private sector or in the private sector. A job that they will believe that is not going to be cut short after a leader's term. And again, they are looking at the president speaking truth to them all the time. Why am I saying this? Sometimes Ghanaians do complain that certain things are happening in their system that does not go well with them. But our previous leaders will not come out to tell us what is really happening. So in the speech of President Mahama, he told all Ghanaians yesterday that he will always be truthful to Ghanaians, whether the economy is on the right track or is on the wrong track. The Ghanaian youth expect to be told what is really happening. Then again, he said something that the Ghanaian people expect democracy to benefit them, which is very true. Like I was saying in my earlier comment, that people go into politics and within 4 years, they are very, very, very rich. So the Ghanaian people think that there is something up there, there is a lot of corruption going out there. So aside getting the job, they want to feel part of the nation building. They want their voices also to be heard. Example, when the former president wanted to pass the electronic levy, which is the e-levy, a lot of Ghanaians spoke about it. But the president kept deaf ears on it and then passed the e-levy. Again, when it comes to domestic debt exchange, a lot of the pensioners in Ghana spoke about it. Their bonds are being used to sacrifice and they're not going to get steady returns in the near future. A lot of them spoke about it, but the former president didn't listen. So the youth are expecting to get permanent jobs. They are expecting the government to give a listening ear to them because majority of the Ghanaians now are in the youth bracket. So whenever they say something, they expect the ruling government to pay attention to it. If not act on it directly, they should research on it. And if it's very true, they will work on it. So I believe that the youth in Ghana, after getting employment, want to be felt. They want their presence to be felt in the nation. Their ideas, their suggestions, they want it to be heard and given the needed attention.
Mr. Ejime, with a second chance at leadership, what legacy do you think Mahama is aiming to leave behind? And how critical is this term for cementing his place in Ghanaian history?
So I think only very few people have the opportunity of a second chance. And I believe he's not going to blow it. I think he will try to, in areas where he made mistakes or he couldn't cope in the last time, I think he will try to fix things as much as possible. But like I said, the jury is out on him because after 4 years, they will also, even though he will not be running, he has a chance to either cost his party that election or make them win it through his performance. And I think that what Romeo is talking about truth is calculated in what he is doing now, having what you call a social contract, and then the trust level between the government and the governed. It's always one thing that is people don't believe governments. They don't believe government institutions. But he's saying, well, I'm here for you. You can trust me, and this is what I have. If I'm derailing, if I'm not doing it, you can call me out on that. And which is very good. Not saying something, promising one thing, and then being short on delivery. I think he has laid it out, and even though it is it's not political to do that because politicians will always want to hide under certain things and give you slogans. And then when it happens, they say, I didn't expect that something like that. When I went there, what I saw is different from what I expected. But you put yourself up to govern. So go and do the job. You know, so you know.
Mr. Ejime, I kind of get where you're coming from with those innuendos. That it's not what I expected that I saw. So some people might renege. But the next 4 years will prove whether he is really a leader who stands behind everything he says, or he's just saying it's to get the right attention. Before we end this conversation, Romeo, I also want you to talk on Mahama's legacy. I mean, what would that be, and how would his second term cement his place in Ghanaian history?
President Mahama, in his first term in 2012 to 2016, did a lot of infrastructure development. That is one legacy Ghanaians cannot take away from him. But he also had issues with corruption. Corruption were tagged on his appointees. So this time around, I believe that he wants to rewrite the history. He wants to come back and tell the Ghanaian people that he has learned his lessons. Things that he did in 2016 that took him to a position, he's not ready to do it again. One will be on the promise of the Ghanaian people on the lean government. He promised Ghanaians that he's going to work with a lean government. And also he promised Ghanaians that he's not going to cover up the sins of his appointees. So Ghanaians remember President Mahama now as the president who came back and did something different like he did in the earlier term of office. And Ghanaians are expecting to have a very good economy. Every day on his campaign trail, he says he wants to reset Ghana, and yesterday he said he wants to reset Ghana. And he cannot do it alone without the Ghanaian people. He wanted inclusivity. He wants every Ghanaian to come on board. So one legacy that President Mahama can leave for the people of Ghana is that we had a president who brought Ghana back to where Ghana belongs. A president who resets Ghana, who will help Ghana for Ghanaians to feel that they are part of the ruling system. Things that President Nana did that did not go well with the Ghanaians is most of it when the Ghanaian people talk, he doesn't pay attention to it. He does whatever he wants to do, especially when 90 of his MPs asked him to sack the finance minister, which he did not do, and many believe that that thing also led to the huge loss of the people, the MPP party. So I believe that President Mahama has a lot to prove. And one of the things that Ghanaians should remember him is when he's able to provide the lean government and when he's able to provide a listening ear to the plight of the people of Ghana.
Gentlemen, I must say thank you very much for giving us your time and sharing your thoughts on the historic return of Mahama as President of Ghana.
Thank you for having us.